Guest for today. I'm so honored and so humbled to bring him on. One of the hottest rising teams in ROH today, the CNC Wrestle Factory. And this is one half of that amazing team. He goes by the name of Caprice Coleman, and that is who he is. And so it's great to have you on the show today, sir. Awesome. All right, well, let's start off with letting the wrestling world know how you got started in the area of professional wrestling, in the world of professional wrestling. How'd you get started?
I was started watching wrestling when I was like 3 years old. Same story. I turned on the TV, saw Dusty Rhodes wrestling Barry Windham. They were feuding over like a boot, like the devil in the boot or something. That's kind of telling my age, you know what I mean? But I was hooked on wrestling ever since. But like wrestlers were kind of like, looking at them, they were kind of like, comic book heroes, gladiators, you know what I'm saying, in real life. And I always like, mimic myself after them and all that. Growing up in, elementary school, a little bit of middle school or whatever. But by middle school, Brian Pillman, Ricky Morton broke free. Jason Liger and all these guys coming in. They went from me looking at these guys like, man, these guys are like, gods, to, maybe I could do this one day because, Brian Pillman wasn't that big and I was always a very small guy, for my age or whatever. And so I was like, maybe I can do this one day. And so, it kind of went from there. And then, when I was 18 years old, I ran into some local guys, running a promotion, that was called East Coast Wrestling Alliance at the time. Then it turned into New Frontier Wrestling Alliance, and then turned into Omega, and that was Matt and Jeff Hardy, and that's how I got started.
Fantastic. So the question is, you said that you started wrestling was as a kid. Did you cut the infamous Child in the Mirror promo? Have you done that at least once?
I'm sure I have. Yeah, I'm sure I have. I was more
any
kid
fake
that I
belts?
made. That was my thing. I made the belts, and I made them better than anybody, man. I started out with one piece of cardboard, and I had 2-layer cardboard, and 2-layer cardboard with aluminum foil, and 2-layer cardboard with tin, and I was real creative with it, until until about middle school, and then kind of grew out of it or whatever. But it was always cool. We tried to make one out of leather one time, and so yeah, I was a belt mark from day one.
Wow. So you said that Dusty Rhodes kind of really gave you the desire to watch wrestling. What other wrestlers can you name that inspired you to break into business, or just really inspired you to start wrestling?
Well, Dusty Rhodes is real big because it's like this big white dude talking like me. And so he really grabbed my attention. He's a big old white dude, but he talked like he was black. So that just took me for a ride there. Rock and Roll Express, Brian Pillman, then get a little further, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, Sting, Ultimate Warrior, and I guess The Rock.
Nice.
Shawn Michaels, of course, Bret Hart, those guys.
Awesome. So you talked about Omega, kind of got your break there as far as ECWA is known for all the hardcore fans. It's a known launch pad of a federation. There's a lot of names that came from that that are very notable. And then Omega, of course, you said the Hardys, Joey Abs is another person, Shane Helms. After Omega, how did the journey go to get to ROH?
Well, after Omega, Matt and Jeff, they got signed and all, and they were. It was pretty much me and Shane Moore, Shane Helms, Joey Matthews were kind of like the only ones left. Marty Garner, we were kind of like around with some of the other guys, and they were going down the NWA Wild Side, and that was down in Georgia. And they kept trying to get me to go down there, but by that time I had like a full-time job, and I couldn't just like, drop and go like they could, because I was working and living on my own and all of them were pretty much living with their parents at the time, and didn't really have any bills. I didn't have that luxury. So finally I was able to go down there. But by the time I got down there, they had got signed with WCW or whatever. And then like right before I was getting ready to go, I had broke my ankle, so that was like 2 months delay. So it was like I missed it by like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months or whatever. So I stayed down there for a while, and Ring of Honor saw me down there, and they started bringing me up. And this was like 2004, 2005, 2006. And between those areas, like Ring of Honor and TNA was getting started, and WWE, they were all like, bringing me in every once in a while, doing like, Heat, Velocity, Raw spots. That time TNA was in Tennessee. I flew in a couple of times, did some stuff with them, and then Ring of Honor. But Ring of Honor always, kind of took me more serious. But I was young and dumb at the time, and I was asking for more, and I didn't know any better. And then I ended up getting behind in like bills, so I had to go overseas and get some bills off with a shoot job, because I just knew that I was ready to get signed with WWE, and I had some bills I needed to pay, so I went overseas for 3 years. And then came back, and when I came back, I started wrestling again, kind of local promotions, just kind of get my name back out there. Went back down to NWA Wildside. They had changed their name to NWA Anarchy. And Ring of Honor got the note that I was down there, and they called me and asked me to do a couple of shows. They brought me aside and said, they were getting ready to be bought out by SBG. They don't know if that's going to allow them to bring more wrestlers on or not, but if they bring me wrestlers on, that was at the top of the list. Or whatever, and that's what happened. So they brought me on. By that time, I had met Cedric Alexander, and so we went from there.
Wow, that's fantastic, and that's a really good take for yourself. That's a really good nod for yourself as far as just the impressive skills that you've had to really have one of the most notable, one of the most recognized companies, ROH, continue to give you an opportunity because they see, your skills and your talent, and it's always, not a lot of people have the opportunity to at least step foot in the WWE or the WCW. So it's definitely good to have that on your resume as well. So you mentioned your partner, Cedric Alexander. So explain to all of our listeners how the CNC Wrestle Factory formed, because that wasn't always your name in ROH. I remember at first it was just, they just started acknowledging you guys by your names, Caprice, Coleman, Cedric Alexander, and then the CNC Wrestle Factory name became pretty catchy. So I saw that there's merchandise now, and the team is starting to really start to boom.
That started back Cedric and I met. Actually, funny story. When I got back in country or whatever, and I started hitting the same territories I was at and all, and some of them was like, what's your fee? And I was like, same fee when I left. I give them my fee and all, and they was like, well, we'll pass. I was like, pass? What are you talking about? And they're like, well, Cedric Alexander, he's cheaper. And I was like, who is Cedric Alexander? Who is this cat? Taking my bookings. And then I got on the show that he was actually on, and he was basically a young guy, just broke into business, very, very young, but he had it, and he was pretty much going everywhere he can go for little or nothing just to get his name out there. So that kind of got my respect, I was mad at first, but then I was like, he's trying to make it just like I was. So he earned my respect there. And I saw him work, man. And once I saw him work, I was like, man, this kid's got it. So he won me over because what drew me to him is that I was like, he didn't remind me of me because he's totally different. But I was like, you know what? Nobody, when I was that young, everybody was always telling me, you need to work on this, you need to work on this, you need to get big, you need to do this, you need to do this. Nobody actually said, man, you're good. Watch out for the after show stuff, or nobody ever took me by the horn like that. You know what I'm saying? It was always like, work on this or slow down or do this. or whatever. So I said, you know what, man, let me talk to this cat. And I talked to him. I was like, man, you got it. You good. I said, you know, basically like I would talk to him about after ring type stuff because he had it in the ring. But mine was more like, you know, after the show because I knew I grew up with, you know, Matt and Jeff and all these guys. I know a lot of guys that kind of went on that same ship. But the after show, my saying is, you know, 90% of wrestlers that lose it in the end, they lose it on the outside of the ring, not on the inside. It's not through injuries that happen in the ring. It's the after show that gets them, you know. And that's pretty much the type of stuff I was teaching him or whatever. And then we ended up being in the same in a class together for the NWA's Legend Convention. We building the NWA's brand called New Beginnings, and we was training under Tully Blanchard. And we both was in that seminar, and we would pick. We was like, man, don't stand too close to me because if you stand too close, they're gonna make us a team. Because we were the only two black guys in the whole seminar. And lo and behold, just knowing each other and all that, when we went to Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor was asking us, did we know each other and all that, and I was like, oh yeah, we know each other. And they asked us about it, but we had already, you know, knew each other before then. And so we was like, well, we'll talk it over and all that. So we started working on some stuff and came back with a proposal to them, and they took it. And it went from there. The CNC, we started as Coleman and Alexander, honestly, because we never could agree on a tag team name.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, and so we just stayed Coleman and Alexander for a long time because Jim Cornette was, you know, pretty much running things there, and we would come to Jim Cornette with something, and, you know, we came with him with everything but the Midnight Express or Rock and Roll Express. and you know, he had the All Night Express, so, you know, we weren't going to go down that road, but I think that's what he was looking for, something express. I don't know.
Something express.
But we never could really agree on the name or whatever. But the first night we wrestled in Richmond, wrestled in a tournament, and on the Internet, they just automatically start calling us CNC Wrestle Factory, I guess because of Caprice and Cedric or whatever, and we just kind of laughed it off. And then we would say to each other, like, man, if we don't ever think of a tag team name, we're going to end up being the CNC Wrestle Factory, and that's going to be the biggest joke of all time. And after a while, you know, it became like, you know, Coleman Alexander / CNC, and then / CNC Wrestle Factory / CNC. And after a while, they just threw it on us. So we was like, well, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So you can actually say that the Internet and wrestling fans named us the CNC Wrestle Factory. So if y'all laugh at that, y'all laugh at yourselves.
Personally, I like it. I remember the kind of like the evolution, so to speak, of from Coleman and Alexander to the CNC Wrestle Factory, and I remember just hearing the name, and I was like, oh, okay. But I think I can speak for many of the other people who are familiar with the team and just the evolution of the name, that it's catchy. Maybe not initially in the beginning, but definitely catchy, especially since the both of y'all, you know, it's always good to have some type of sign thrown up. You know what I mean? When you come out and wrestle, you know, there's a lot of wrestlers who do that, and then you kind of have your C's that y'all throw up. So it's, you know, it's catchy. You know, the crowd and the audience, I can tell, are with you, you know, when it comes to throwing up the sign and things like that. So I think that the evolution kind of helped you all, and plus you have a label. You know, you're labeled. I mean, as far as having a name and things like that, and that's a lot of the times that helps out a lot as far as you know, the audience just really, you know, paying attention to y'all. So I definitely think that the CNC Wrestle Factory is a good name, and it goes to show that the both of y'all, you know, really live up to that. Because I remember when I saw both of you live, I went to a ROH live show, and I believe you were wrestling Adam Cole, and Cedric was wrestling Davey Richards. And you had the best spot of the night, and I would probably give the best match to Cedric and Davey. And I think Davey even I think he was kind of really promoted him really heavy, saying it's next world champion, things like that. And I feel like that towards the both of y'all. But that spot that you had, I think you did like some type of acai moonsault to Adam Cole, and you jumped. You just did some type of vertical jump to the ropes, and you turned it to like some type of acai. It was just some really crazy spot. And the whole. What's that?
Inside out moonsault. It's like there's a lot of people that do it like from the outsider and they're already out there, but I start from the inside and do it.
Yeah.
Something
it was
different.
really.
I started to throw something different out there, and they seem to like it. So
Yeah, the place erupted, when that happened. So, and then just to have the both of y'all be such good singles wrestlers, to have y'all come together is definitely a double bonus for all the ROH fans. So speaking of matches, what is the best match that you've ever been in?
Man, I don't know. I'd like to say maybe working the singles or tag or both.
You can say both.
Okay, maybe a tag team. I would have to say like our feud with the Young Bucks. I really enjoyed working them. We've never had a bad match with the Young Bucks. They always bring out the best in us, and I hope we do the same with them or whatever. They're actually coming back to Ring of Honor. And then singles match, I have to say my feud with Shatter, which is TNA Gunner. We feuded a lot up and down on the East Coast or whatever, and we've had some really good matches.
That's awesome. How about the best match you've ever watched that you haven't been in? Even from a kid, the best match that you can ever, the most memorable match that you can think of.
Probably have to say Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, the Iron Man.
Oh,
match they did.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's do a little bit of fantasy booking here. So if CNC, they're such a, you both are such a well-oiled team as far as chemistry is concerned in the ring. If y'all were to break up and start a feud, who would be the heel and why?
Oh, man. I'm comfortable either way. Cedric, believe it or not, Cedric is too. But I believe, man, that can go either way. I believe, knowing the Ring of Honor crowd, it would probably make more sense. That's hard to answer. We could go either way with that and the reason why I say that is because like Cedric could be mad at me and be like, "Hey, you holding me back," type deal. You pulling on my shirt tails, and I'm carrying you everywhere I go, and I'm tired of you holding me back. I want to be world champion, type deal, and catch an attitude like that, and not be a baby, or I can be the heel of like I get jealous. Everybody likes you. You know what I'm saying? I'm better than you. I made you. Blah blah blah. Like that deal, and I become the heel. So that can go either way, and we're both comfortable either way. The only strain is now that, the word is out that I'm an ordained minister, a preacher and all that, it'll kind of be hard to make me heel without contaminating some stuff. But there's some ways to make me more aggressive, or whatever, but I've tried to go some shows I do around here, and they be like, "Man, we really need a heel at this show," or whatever. We really need a bag. I say, "Okay, fine." And I come out there, man, and I'll be healing it up, and you hear people cry, he's a preacher. I ain't booing him. You know what I'm saying? So they would just like sit silent, and I would be doing heel stuff, and they'd be clapping like I just rubbed the log on the Apollo and started singing Amazing Grace or something. They wouldn't do it, man. Like, I ain't getting struck down on the bleachers. God ain't gonna do that to me. So they
wow.
So, but I believe it could go either way, man. Yeah. But with me I'm actually comfortable with heel or baby, honestly.
That's great. All right, so I know that, like I said, CNC Music Factory is a great team right now. I personally don't think that you are. CNC Music Factory, yeah. I'm glad that you called me on that. Have you ever had anybody else like make that mistake?
Oh man, you know what? What was funny is I look on the internet sometimes, and every once in a while I just Google, let's see what people are saying about us or whatever. And it was like, I believe they stole that from a group in the '90s that used to be called the CNC Music Factory. I believe it's a play out there. I'm like, you know what? You're a genius. You should go straight to Harvard. You don't even have to just walk straight into it and see what happens, because you got it. You're a smart person.
That's
genius all the way.
That's what the wrestling world calls smarks. So
yeah. You got it.
You know it all.
You're a smart person, boy. You know everything. You good.
That's it.
Real
you know
good.
it all. Yeah.
I'm not debating on your mama. Get some air.
Invented that idea themselves. No, it's okay. But my apologies. It's the first time I've ever done that. And I've mentioned, this is show number 68, I believe it is, 67, 68, and almost a year and a half of the show. As many times I've mentioned, I do a ROH recap every week, and as many times as I've done it, I've never said that. So I guess that's a little added bonus part of the interview here. CNC Music Factory that will never be said again. It is the CNC Wrestle Factory, born and bred, and definitely nobody would argue that. So, like I said, the CNC Wrestle Factory is a phenomenal team. But I know that you have, as far as personal goals in the ROH and aspirations, as far as, doing something that's more, that's ascending in the ranks. The team has yet to have, see, the chat room is acting crazy now. Someone said everybody dance now in the chat room, so.
No, boy.
You can't say anything without the wrestling fans just leeching off of. But that's
Keyboard Warriors unite.
Right. But I know that you have personal goals as far as your wrestling career is concerned, and I would imagine tag team championships would be one of them. Unfortunately, the past ROH TV show, y'all came a little bit short against Red Dragon, although it was a phenomenal match. But let me know, let the listeners know your goals as far as ROH is concerned.
Definitely, my goal now is becoming World Tag Team Champions. I believe that Ring of Honor has the most respected tag team division out of the top three companies. And to be able to have that name under you saying you become the World Tag Team Champions, to me is a big deal. And I believe we are, if not one of the best tag teams in the world right now, in all companies. Because the cohesiveness that we have, and our ability to be innovative and things, and with me kind of being like an old school innovator, and him like a new school striker type deal, the way that we're able to collaborate on things, I believe is not matched anywhere. And we get along and all, and I believe both of us, like you said, are great singles competitors. And I believe that's our first goal. Of course, I believe we both each want to be able to get some shots at some single runs as well. I believe within 5 years, Cedric Alexander would be a household name that everybody would know. And a lot of people say, well, I'm 36 years old, I don't have a lot left. But, here's my deal. Every time before we go out to wrestle, most states we have to be checked by a doctor. And my heart rate and blood pressure is better than 90% of the roster that's out there, because I do a regimen that's built to prolong my life, my health and my fitness and all, and I'm in great shape, and you can tell by looking, and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So a singles run would be fine with me too. Between Cedric and I, Cedric is more of the technical wrestler, striker, in your face type, Dean Malenko, David Richards type guy, and I'm more of the, the entertainer, the talker, or whatever like that. So I believe if we end up going our separate ways, we'll both be fine. or whatever, and it still it'd be good friends. I believe it would probably be something like the Briscoes, where if they did break us up, we would end up back together again, or like they do the American Wolves type thing.
Yeah. And I would also add the Briscoes there as well. They both are having good singles careers, and but they're known as a team. So hopefully, it won't be a Hart Foundation or a Rockers type deal.
Right.
Where there's no offense to Marty Jannetty or Jim Neidhart, they're both great competitors, but unfortunately they received the shorter end of the stick when it came to propelled careers. So, but I definitely think that the both of you have what it takes to really make. And you have about 15 years experience?
Yeah, and I've been around for a while, so this is a blessing to me to finally get the opportunity to do this. And Cedric has a lot of life left in him. He's just now getting started, and he fits the Ring of Honor style to a T, and I enjoy Ring of Honor as well. I do what I can, and I do my best. And whatever happens to me, I can always say that I've always followed my dreams, and I got to where millions never got to, So, and I believe I have so much more to give. So I'm fine either way,
Yeah.
So I'm good either way, man.
Awesome. So just to say that you made it to WrestleMania, and Caprice Coleman is one of the marquee matches at WrestleMania, who would your top opponent be and why?
Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, okay. Good choice.
Yeah, he's
why
got
Dolph
it,
Ziggler?
Man. He just got it, man. He's got it. If he stays healthy, man, he'll be around for a long time. I like him. I like the way he's like more of a Hennig than Axel, than Kurt Hennig's son going now. If they brought him in as a Hennig, I believe it. Because he's like the Kurt Hennig of the day. I know they have Kurt Hennig's son there and all, but to me, Dolph Ziggler is definitely like the Kurt Hennig of the day. And I was a big Kurt Hennig fan or whatever, so I'd definitely say Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I think that watching both of your wrestling styles, I definitely think that would be in the wrestling world would be in for a phenomenal match, because both of you have fantastic wrestling styles, and that's an interesting take interesting point that you made as far as Dolph Ziggler. He's usually compared. Kurt Hennig is one of the people he's usually compared to, but I never really thought of it as far as making a gimmick out of being from the Hennig family, and that would have been very interesting. I know, he was semi-tarnished with the Spirit Squad, gimmick, but it would have been very interesting if he would have came in as a Hennig, and wondering how.
I don't think the Spirit Squad tarnished him, man. I mean, it's like, the wrestling business, man. You get in where you fit in, and if that's the way they had to get him there, man, and he was in it being the one that, stood out. You look at what was he Nick back then or something like that?
Yeah.
You look at him then. Now he changed his whole look. Toned up and everything, and look at him now, man. He's doing big things. I also like the fact that there's a lot of great wrestlers. I like Daniel Bryan and all the other guys there. Don't get me wrong, but the way that he moves and then entertains at the same time, man, it's marquee.
Mm-hmm.
It's marquee.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you as far. I mean, the Spirit Squad were former tag team champions, so I guess that's that goes with part of his resume. But I don't know. I do think that as far as the wrestling, you're familiar with the wrestling mind of these days as far as the fans are concerned. There's a majority or a large amount of fans that looks for things to critique about someone's career, and that's one of the things that he gets critiqued at the most as far as his Spirit Squad run. I mean, but I think in hindsight the group was a bust, but I definitely understand from a wrestling standpoint, from a business standpoint, as far as, like you said, get in where you fit in. And I'm sure that Dolph Ziggler was very, very pleased with the opportunity as well. So, yeah, I definitely think from the different contexts.
I've learned, and this is why I know I could be a phenomenal heel, because, when I first started wrestling, and of course, I was a lot smaller than I am now, and I'm not a big guy now, or whatever, but they was like, where you wrestling at? And I would say, at the Armory, or, at the high school. When you going to WWE? I'm like, well, you got to work your way up to there, Oh, you're not good enough yet, and then, you get moved to this area, and where you thinking, okay, you look on the internet, I'm doing pretty good, but because this guy doesn't see me on WWE, I'm nobody to him. You know what I'm saying? And then you go to WWE and you get beat up. Yeah, man, I saw you. You got toe up, man. But you saw me on TV. You sit at home. You live with your grandma. You live in the basement. You know what I'm saying? you don't even support yourself. But you know what I'm saying? You're not even chasing the dream. You're chasing the keyboard.
Right,
and so I stopped trying to please people, man. You know what I'm saying? And so I started going, following my dream. Because I realized that if I got to WWE, they'd be like, man, I saw you at WWE. You got signed, but you ain't got a belt yet. And I get the tag team dollars. When you going to get a singles run? Then you get a singles run. You as champion, but when you going to be Intercontinental champion? You get Intercontinental. Well, you ever going to be world champion? You get world champion. They let you win, though, didn't they? You know what I'm saying? So you're never going to please them, man. So it's like, I got to do this dream for me, man.
Yeah.
So
that's a fantastic point.
These guys, a lot of the guys is asking for something. They're asking from a fan point of view. My job is to entertain you. You know what I'm saying? But 9 times out of 10, you can't do a quarter of what I do. So sit back and be entertained. I'm sorry, that's my heel side.
No, I was saying put all that behind the mic, and you'll get some booze, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. I'm probably getting some hate replies now, man. But if you sit and think about it, it's true, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this for a while, and for a long part of my career, I spent trying to please people. I remember the first time I got frustrated with fans. I wrestled a match, and I did like a real high springboard crossbody to the outside in a Ring of Honor, like 6-way match or whatever. And it was a real high crossbody and all, and a highlight of the match or whatever. And out of everything they could say is that he got real high. I think Jack Evans was in the match, and he did some like kind of twisted thing or whatever. They said what would have been cool is if he got real high and did a twist or did a flip. I'm like, get in the ring, take bump, try to jump, get on the ropes, stand up, balance yourself. You know what I'm saying? So after that, I was just done with it. So I apologize that you're getting this side of me tonight.
Oh no, this is
my heel.
This
if
is
I ever had
Caprice
a heel run,
here, man.
Yeah, if I ever had a heel run, trust me, I would have no problem with getting heat.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's an entertainment business, and as a face or as a heel, when you get that, a lot of times when you're in a promotion, you're kind of at the mercy of what they offer you, and a lot of times, some people are offered to be a heel, but they don't feel comfortable doing it. But you gotta be comfortable being a face or a heel when you're in this business, because like you said before. I mean, when you go to different promotions, they say, okay, well, we need a heel, but if you're not comfortable doing it, you just kind of kind of fall flat. So I definitely think it's important to have both of them. And I agree with you as far as not. You said people don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, and people don't realize, man, there's a grind. That's why, the Wrestle Factory, I really like what we've become. And, you see the back of our shirts, ambassadors of the grind, because basically, my story is I've been at this for a long time, and people had counted me out countless amount of times because of injuries and things. And there was a time where I doubted myself, But I put my boots back on. I stopped listening to the naysayers, and I went back out there, and I got signed. You know what I mean? And not because I was the best out there, no, but it was my time, and I was blessed to be able to do so. You know, so I could have gave up when they said it, but I didn't. You know, but when you look at like entertainers, people out there in the movies, they don't go from sitting on their couch to Denzel Washington. You know what I'm saying? They do stage plays. You know what I'm saying? They do little films that ain't nobody seen before. You know, they do little commercials and get catapulted here. You know, they start out little and they get big, but people don't understand the grind. You know, people don't understand sleeping in your car, driving 12, 15 hours, sleeping in your car to make nothing, hoping you get publicity. You know what I'm saying? People don't understand that. They think you just wake up, go to the gym, and go to WWE, but they don't understand the grind. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand you getting hurt or whatever, but you're still trying to work because you're thinking, if I miss this show, I'm going to miss a big opportunity to go somewhere else. They don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't understand sleeping in your car and outside of a hotel because you're not on the roster big enough to get a hotel, but if you sleep somewhere else, you might miss the bus to the show. They don't understand nothing like that, man. They don't understand that you can't work a regular job, you know what I'm saying, because if you work a regular job, you got to work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and your mama can't die but so many times to get off on a Tuesday or Wednesday night when WWE is calling you to come in town or something like that because your dream might happen. They don't understand that. They don't understand you changing your whole life around to adjust to a dream that might not come true, you know what I'm saying, for your dreams, you know what I'm saying, but you pleasing somebody that can't do nothing that you trying to do, but they just a keyboard warrior. They don't understand nothing like that. They don't understand you trying to support a family off a dream. Man, please. They don't understand.
Wow.
That's the grind. That's the real grind right there. You know, P. Diddy didn't become P. Diddy overnight. You know what I'm saying? He worked the small stuff and worked his way up. And people laugh at him now, but he cashing money.
Yeah. Wow. So, I think that we just heard a Hard Times promo 20 years later. Every time I heard that was fantastic, and that's very true as far as, you know, just what you have to go through as a wrestler, and just have to, you know, like you said, sleep in your car and just not really know, you know, as far as having a routine meal or not even know, you know, what to eat sometimes. So you're absolutely right as far, and that's the grind right there. That's hard times as W.
And the crazy part is this, man. I have an engineering degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I have a degree. You know what I'm saying? But this is my dream. And I think back all the time, like, man, what if I would just, you know, went into my career or whatever like that? I wouldn't have been happy, but I would have had money. When I went overseas, I was making good money. I had a maid, I had a driver, you know what I'm saying? But I came back here to follow my dreams. They're coming true. You know what I'm saying? I know that money will come, you know what I'm saying? But I had money, I had all that stuff, and I still wasn't happy. You know what I'm saying? Because that wasn't what I was built to do. You know, but now I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't have as much money, but I'm happy. My family's happy. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. They don't understand, man. They don't stay on the keyboard.
Yep. And they'll probably
stay on the keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You know, you say you're, you know.
Mommy, can you fix me a sandwich?
While I complain about, and you know what's interesting about that is that, you know, I've been a journalist for a while in the wrestling business, and I get that all the time. You know, I try to be as rational as I can when I write. Of course, there's you know, a bit of bias sometimes when it comes to a certain angle or a certain wrestler or something like that. But I mean, there'll be pieces I write that can be just the most, you know, impartial pieces, and there's still something that someone could, you know, critique, you know, that's just so small, minutely small, that they don't agree with. And I just wrote a long piece about something very informative, and I get the critique in the comment section. So I'm like,
they just about had time. They think about that, man. You got time to find something that small, and you wrote all that stuff, and they got to write a sentence about a little mistake you made. You know, they don't. It's hard, man. They don't understand. They don't understand.
Or not even a mistake.
You know,
yeah, sometimes even an indifference.
It's crazy. So,
yeah,
I mean, I love everybody. You know, I know I'm sounding healers. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. But you know, I've been at this for a long time. You know what I'm saying, and everybody knows me. Like they hit me up on Twitter. I'm probably one of the only wrestling guys that, responds to fans. I talk to people, you know what I'm saying, because I know that the fans are what make us, you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe a fan is a fan, you know what I mean? So, I mean, unless you step in my shoes, you really can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, I think it's important to put things in perspective too, as far as fans are concerned. Even I know personally, some wrestlers, and even wrestlers are still fans because they appreciate the business. But I think just putting everything in perspective and just really understanding all of the hard work that you all put into just really being successful in the business. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people who even try out to be a wrestler who don't make it. So,
yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of those people are the ones that are, bitter. But I think that even, the people who don't try, who appreciate the business, who appreciate wrestling, like you said, they make the wrestlers. They are the one who feed the wrestling business. But I think, and they, in that sense, they can argue that because I'm a fan as well, we all can argue that we have a right to say what we want, which we do. But at the same time, I think being rational and putting things in perspective is definitely important.
Well, I mean, of course, everybody has freedom of speech. You know what I mean? So I can't get mad at what you're saying, you know what I'm saying? But if we got freedom of speech, don't get mad when I say something back. You know what I'm saying? I can talk.
Yeah.
I was born to talk. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I do. So I'm the type person, if you pick at me, I'm going to pick back. If you say something to me, I'm going to say something back, and actually, I'm going to say it at the same level you said it to me, or I'm going to say it at a level higher because I can. You know what I mean? So, if you're going to say something, be ready for something to come back at you.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I'm going to give you 5 random names, and we're going to play every time I interview someone on the show. I do name association. It doesn't have to be one word, probably a sentence or two. 5 random names, and let me know, your opinion or your feeling on them as a person, their career. So let's start off with Steve Corino.
Great guy. Been around the business for a long time. He's good people. He's made. Of course, some of his choices on TV aren't popular and all that, but I've known Corino for, I could say almost 20 years, and he's a very smart guy.
Cedric Alexander.
In 5 years, mark my words, within 5 years, Cedric Alexander would be a household name.
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, wrestling.
The Undertaker.
Longevity.
Nice. And then finally, Kurt Angle.
A wrestler's wrestler. You can pick at people's personal life and all that, but push come to shove, everybody has a personal life that some people aren't proud of, but it's just that when you're in that limelight, everybody sees your business. They don't see yours because you're not important enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of you've had so many segues into my line of questions, and all of the listeners, he had no idea of the questions that I'm posing to him, and he's answering them very greatly. But your segues are perfect, and you just segued to my next question, which was how has your faith impacted your wrestling career?
I believe it's impacted a lot because, first of all, I say I'm blessed with Ring of Honor because I talked to, other promotions and all, and fear that with me being an ordained minister and all that, they would try to contaminate that an aspect. And Ring of Honor was really like the first company that was like, hey, let's embrace that. Let's do something with it. We don't have to tweak it. Let's just leave it like it is. And they didn't make me like a, going out there and, carrying the Bible and all that, but enough to be like, hey, this is a guy, he's an athlete, and guess what? He's an ordained minister too, and he can go out there and rock the house just like anybody else, and I respect that. And the faith aspect is my ability to be able to go when everybody else says, your time is up. My faith aspect is when, injuries came and it was like, well, you might as well hang up your boots. I was like, no, something inside of me is telling me this is where I need to be. My faith kicked in is when I realized that when I did take time off or whatever and I was talking to other wrestlers, they told me that, hey, it was me in the back dressing room that was encouraging them, in ways that I never knew it. So I know that not only is this my dream, but, it's my ministry as well. And there's a lot of Christian wrestlers out there that, that fall, and then they find Christ or vice versa, that they try to make a statement, they try to find something, bad to say about them and all that. Nobody's perfect, but I believe that the life that I've been able to live so far has been a life to where nobody can mark me and say, yeah, he says he's this, but, he drinks and he gets high, and he does this. My integrity is in check, and that's because I know that, the life I live, people are looking at not only just as an entertainer, but, some as a spiritual guidance, and if I'm a light for Christ, I need to be a bright one, at all times. So I watch myself so I don't give somebody an excuse to say, well, he did this and he ain't about nothing, or you know what I mean? So I have to be a light everywhere I go. So that's when my faith and integrity kicks in, and it helps me because after the show, when everybody's going to the after party, or sometimes if I go to the after party, they respect me enough not to offer me a drink or, not to get into the extra stuff or whatever like that because everybody's grown, but it's on your own decision. And because of a lot of things I don't do by being quote-unquote straight edge, it's not straight edge, it's just, my beliefs, it's put longevity in me because I don't have things inside of my body that will keep me from lasting as long as I've been able to because there's nothing in there to toxify it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. As a fellow minister, you're definitely an inspiration to me as far as just really showing your integrity, something I've definitely noticed throughout your wrestling career, and I've followed you for a few years now since ROH, and I definitely am inspired by that, and I definitely think that that's something that will give you favor, as a result of keeping your diligence to your faith. So I definitely commend you and I honor you for that, for sure. So, all right. So, do you have, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fantastic show, a fantastic interview from the Caprice Coleman, one half of the CNC Wrestle Factory, a name that I now know has been invented by the fans and the internet. So, definitely a intense discussion here. And I definitely think it was well needed. I think that the Pancakes and Powerslams show has officially turned Caprice Coleman heel. So watch out for the heel. I kid. But yeah, just really, really good. I definitely heard your heart in your responses, and it definitely is a reflection of the passion that you have for the business. So is there any events that's coming soon that you are going to be a part of? Or this is a nationwide show. People from all across the nation listen to the
absolutely.
show. So.
I got this weekend I'll be in Rockwell, Texas, for the Christian Wrestling Federation annual tag team tournament. Me and my brother, Sweet Dreams, he's from Omega. We're going down there in that tournament for to win the trophy at the end or whatever. So the Christian Wrestling Federation in Rockwell, Texas is pretty much my favorite Christian organization to work for. Because their base is that they have Christians that just happen to be wrestlers, and not wrestlers just happen to be Christians. If you think about it, it's a big deal. So I really enjoy working with them. Not a big organization, but I really enjoy my time with them and the people there, and the hospitality there. Next weekend after that, Ring of Honor is going to be in Rhode Island, and the weekend after that, Ring of Honor will be in Buffalo, New York. The weekend after that, we will be in Toronto, Canada. So keep a lookout for that. My Twitter handle is @Caprice Coleman. love and respect to all. Follow your dreams. If you dream to be a pro wrestler, take it serious. Whatever you dream to be, put yourself into it and go all out with it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. You follow your dreams and you do the best that you can do, because your dream might not be your destiny, but I guarantee you, if you follow your dream, it'll lead you to your destiny.
Wow, Caprice, it's been a pleasure to interview you today. Definitely a heartfelt interview that I just greatly appreciate. I just heard, like I said, I heard your heart, I heard your passion, and you could tell that you are all about making this the best opportunity that it can possibly be. And like you said, and like the catchphrase of your team is definitely ambassador of the grind. I think that the listeners that we have definitely understand so much more what that means. I want to thank you, sir, so much, and I hope you do so well. And I'll continue to be following you in ROH, and looking forward to you to just go up from here.
All right, I appreciate that. And also, I search for sale and all, and if you feel that you work hard and that you can represent for people that work hard, that are just waiting for an opportunity, buy the shirt and represent. Thank you for the time, and we'll talk to you later.